The Arctic is a place of extremes, dazzling beauty, deadly cold. Here, winter swallows the sun, and storms rise like walls of smoke, tearing across endless ice. Engines freeze, steel shatters, men vanish in blizzards. To most, this is a land no one can survive. Yet for the Inuit, Chukchi, and Yupik, this has always been home. And survival depends on one creature, the walrus. Massive, armored with blubber, armed with tusks as long as swords, the walrus is no clumsy beast. It is a giant that can crush boats, gore men, and disappear into black water like a ghost. But for Arctic hunters, it is also life itself. Food, oil, rope, light, warmth. Every part matters, nothing can be wasted. The hunt is perilous. One slip on thin ice, one wave too high, and the hunter becomes the hunted. Yet they return each year, not for sport, not for greed, but because the walrus means survival, tradition, and respect. This is not just a hunt. It is a battle written in ice and blood, in firelight and song. A fight where death feeds life and where the bond between man and nature is tested on the edge of the frozen sea. The hunt does not begin with the pull of a trigger. It begins in the days before, when the air is sharp and brittle and the sea ice groans like a living thing. Preparation is as vital as courage. Boats must be repaired, their seams sealed with tar or animal fat to keep out the freezing sea. Harpoons are inspected, their barbed tips sharpened to a deadly gleam. Ropes are coiled and checked, each fiber tested for strength, because when a walrus is hooked, a rope becomes the lifeline between hunter and prey. Inside the village, there is a quiet intensity. Elders gather the young men, their voices low but commanding. They tell stories of past hunts, some triumphant, some tragic. They describe storms that rose from calm seas in minutes, men lost to cracks in the ice, or walruses that dragged entire boats under with one violent thrash. Each tale is both warning and lesson, a reminder that the ocean respects no one who is careless. At night, under the glow of lamps fueled by last season's blubber, hunters sharpen knives with slow, deliberate strokes. Children watch, wide-eyed, absorbing the ritual. Women prepare food for the journey, packing dried fish and seal meat into skin bags. Every member of the community plays a role, for when the men set out at dawn, they carry not only their weapons, but the hope of everyone left behind. The morning of the hunt arrives. The horizon is pale gold, the weak sun struggling to rise through a haze of ice crystals suspended in the air. The hunters dress in heavy furs stitched from caribou and sealskin boots waterproofed with oil. Their faces are lined with frost before they even step onto the boats. The sea is calm for now, a deceptive mirror reflecting the sky, but the men know it can change in moments. They push off, the wooden hulls creaking as they meet the frigid water. Small motors cough to life on some boats, while others rely on paddles. The hunters preferring silence as they cut across the Black Sea. The only sounds are the slap of waves against wood, the occasional call of a gull, and the rhythmic breathing of men focused on what lies ahead. Hours pass before they spot them, dark, heaving shapes sprawled across a drifting ice floe. A herd of walruses, dozens strong. The animals bark and grunt, their massive bodies pressed close together for warmth. Steam rises from their hides in the cold air, and their ivory tusks catch the dim sunlight, gleaming like pale weapons. The hunters slow their approach. Every movement is deliberate. Too much noise, and the herd will panic, crashing into the sea as one, vanishing into the depths. The men's eyes scan the group, searching for their target. They do not strike the young or the mothers with calves. Tradition forbids it. Instead, they mark out the largest bulls, the older males heavy with fat and muscle, capable of sustaining the community through many long weeks. One boat edges closer, the hunters crouched low. The walruses stir, their massive heads lifting, whiskers twitching at the scent of humans. Time is running short, a rifle rises. The silence shatters with a single crack. The echo rolls across the ice, startling birds into flight. One of the bulls bellows in rage and pain, thrashing toward the water. Before it can slip beneath the surface, a harpoon flies, the rope hissing as it uncoils. The point strikes true, embedding deep. The walrus fights with terrifying power. Its bulk crashes against the floe, sending shards of ice into the air. It dives, dragging the rope taut, pulling the boat in a sudden lurch that nearly tips it. The men shout, bracing themselves, muscles straining as they haul back against the force of a beast stronger than any man. Another shot rings out, then another. The water froths red, but still the walrus thrashes. For minutes that feel like hours, it is a deadly tug of war. If the rope snaps, the walrus will escape into the dark depths, and the hunters will return home empty-handed. If the boat capsizes, they will not return at all. Finally, the struggle ends. The walrus shudders, then falls still, its massive bulk floating beside the ice. The hunters collapse back into their seats, gasping, their arms burning from the effort. There is no cheer, no triumphant cry. Instead, a heavy silence descends. The men bow their heads for a moment, acknowledging what has been taken. This is not a victory over the animal, but an exchange. A life given so that others may live. The work is far from over. Now begins the most crucial part, the butchering. Every moment counts. The Arctic does not forgive those who waste time. The hunters move swiftly, pulling the walrus onto the floe, ready to transform this giant of the sea into the fuel that will sustain their people. The moment the walrus is secured on the ice floe, the hunters move with practiced speed. The Arctic does not wait. Winds can shift, ice can break, predators can appear. Even in death, the walrus remains dangerous, its sheer bulk capable of rolling and crushing a man. The hunters tie ropes around its flippers to keep the massive body steady. Then the first knife flashes. The initial cut is long and deliberate, running from the lower belly up toward the chest. A hush falls as the blade slides through thick hide, releasing a heavy, musky scent that mixes with the salt air. The skin is tough, tougher than the leather of any boot, but the hunters know exactly where to press, how to slice without wasting effort. Slowly, they peel back great sheets of hide, thick enough to be laid out like rugs on the ice. Later, these hides will be scraped, dried, and transformed into coverings for boats, soles for boots, or durable ropes strong enough to tether sled dogs in a storm. Beneath the skin lies the treasure, blubber, slabs of pale fat. Some nearly half a meter thick, glisten in the dim light. Two men work together to cut it into great chunks, stacking it neatly on the ice. This is wealth, not in gold or jewels, but in survival. The blubber will be rendered down into oil, each drop precious. In the endless nights of winter, this oil will fuel lamps, casting warm yellow light across snow-covered homes, keeping darkness and despair at bay. Some of the blubber will be eaten directly, a rich and calorie-dense food that can sustain hunters on long journeys. To outsiders, it may seem unappetizing, but here it is life. Next comes the meat, dark, red, and heavy with iron. Walrus flesh is dense, each cut releasing the raw, metallic scent of blood. Hunters slice carefully, separating muscle from bone, laying it out in long strips. Some pieces are consumed fresh, still warm from the animal's body. The rest will be smoked, dried, or salted. In underground ice cellars carved into permafrost, these cuts will stay edible for months, even years. The community depends on this. Each slice is measured, each portion destined for a family waiting back in the village. The tusks gleam white against the dark flesh. These are prizes, but not trophies. The ivory will be carved into tools, knife handles, harpoon tips, snow goggles. Some pieces will become art, intricate carvings of hunters, animals, and spirits, each telling stories passed down through generations. To hold a walrus tusk is to hold history in one's hands, to carry the memory of ancestors who braved the same seas centuries before. Even the bones are not wasted. Massive ribs are cut free, cleaned, and set aside. They will serve as frameworks for shelters, sled runners, or sturdy supports in places where wood is scarce. The skull, heavy and thick, may be left on the ice as an offering, a silent gesture of respect, returning part of the animal to the sea. Tendons, long and strong, are stripped and stretched. Once dried, they will be braided into ropes tougher than any fiber spun in a factory. These ropes may one day hold a dog team together during a blizzard or lash down supplies on a sled as it races across frozen tundra. Every detail matters. Every piece has its purpose. The hunters work quickly, but not carelessly. Each movement is deliberate, guided by generations of knowledge. A careless cut could ruin valuable hide. A wasted piece of meat would dishonor the walrus. Tradition teaches that to waste is to invite misfortune, not only for the hunter, but for the entire community. Around them, the Arctic continues its silent watch. The wind whistles across the ice, seabirds circle overhead, shrieking, waiting for scraps. In the distance, the herd that escaped still lingers, their heavy bodies shifting uneasily. Some raise their heads, barking mournfully as if acknowledging the loss of one of their own. The hunters pause only briefly, their breath steaming in the cold air. Their faces are stoic, but their eyes are sharp, alert to the shifting cracks in the floe beneath their feet. Time is precious. Already the sun dips low, though it has barely risen. Daylight in the Arctic is fleeting, a fragile thing. By the time they finish, the once mighty walrus has been transformed. Where there was a giant of the sea, now there are piles of neatly stacked meat, fat, hide, tusks, and bone. Nothing wasted, nothing forgotten. It is as if the walrus has been reborn, each part destined to serve in new ways, to warm, to feed, to protect, to preserve. The hunters wash their knives in the icy sea, the red water swirling away into the depths. They load the spoils carefully into their boats, distributing weight evenly to avoid capsizing. The journey home is dangerous. A boat heavy with meat rides low in the water, vulnerable to sudden waves. But the men row steadily, their arms aching, their spirits solemn. They know what they carry is not just food, but the survival of their people. As the boats turn back toward the distant line of snow-covered shore, the ice closes slowly behind them. The walrus's roar fades into silence, leaving only the whisper of the wind. The butchering is done. The hunt has given life. But the story does not end here. Back in the village, the true work begins. The sharing, the preserving, the transformation of raw survival into culture and tradition. The return of the hunters is never a quiet affair. Long before the boats reach shore, the village knows they are coming. Children are the first to spot them, their sharp eyes scanning the horizon. A shout goes up, echoing through the cluster of snow-covered homes. They are back. Women step outside, wiping their hands on furs. Elders emerge slowly, leaning on staffs carved from bone, and the entire community gathers by the water's edge. The boats appear, heavy and low in the water. From a distance, the catch is invisible, but the posture of the men tells everything. They are exhausted, shoulders slumped, movements heavy. But their eyes shine with the weight of success. As the boats grind against the ice-crusted shoreline, the people surge forward, hands outstretched to help. No hunter carries his burden alone. The walrus belongs to everyone. Great slabs of meat and fat are unloaded, passed hand to hand like sacred offerings. Children strain under the weight, their small arms trembling, but they do not complain. This is their initiation, their first taste of responsibility. Women direct the process, calling out where each portion should go. Some is taken immediately to communal drying racks, where strips of meat will hang in the biting wind until tough and preserved. Some is carried into storage huts, dark and cool, lined with stones that hold the cold like a vault. The work is meticulous. Every block of fat is cut into uniform pieces. Every hide is stretched taut on frames, scraped clean of flesh, and left to dry in the wind. Women's knives move quickly, flashing in the pale sunlight as they reduce massive pieces into manageable portions. The rhythm of cutting, scraping, and stacking becomes almost musical, a heartbeat for the village, steady and reassuring. Meanwhile, elders oversee, their eyes sharp despite their years. They murmur instructions, correcting a careless cut, reminding the young of the importance of precision. "Do not waste," one says, his voice firm. "Every piece is needed. Every piece has meaning." For these elders, each hunt is not just about food. It is a living classroom, a chance to pass on skills that have preserved life in the Arctic for millennia. Children gather the scraps, carrying baskets of smaller bones and tendons to be cleaned and dried. Girls help their mothers braid sinew into ropes, their small fingers quick and nimble. Boys stand close to their fathers, watching as tusks are cleaned, learning how to carve the ivory without splitting it. They may not yet hold a harpoon, but their education has begun. When the first tasks are complete, the community comes together for a meal. Fires are lit, kettles placed on stones, and chunks of fresh meat are boiled into thick, steaming stew. The scent drifts across the village, rich and heavy, drawing everyone closer. Bowls are passed, children's hands are warmed, and laughter rises into the cold air. For a moment, the hardships of the Arctic fade, replaced by warmth and unity. But beyond the celebration lies deeper meaning. The walrus is not just sustenance, it is identity. To share in its flesh is to share in the legacy of the ancestors. To eat together is to remember that survival is never the work of one person, but of all. Each family receives its share. The widows, the sick, the elderly are never forgotten. To neglect them would dishonor the gift of the walrus and invite misfortune. At night, the lamps are filled with freshly rendered oil. Their flames flicker across the walls of homes, casting shadows that seem to dance with the rhythm of the drums. Women hum songs as they sew clothing from old hides, their needles made of walrus bone glinting in the light. Men sharpen knives and repair sleds, their hands moving with quiet focus. Children curl close, listening to stories told by their grandparents. Tales of storms survived, of hunts that nearly failed, of the first hunters who learned to read the sea ice like a map. One story is told again and again, that the walrus is not just an animal, but a guardian spirit of the sea. In this telling, to kill a walrus is to ask permission of the ocean itself. If the hunters are respectful, the ocean will continue to provide. If they are wasteful, the ice will crack beneath their feet, and the sea will reclaim what was stolen. These stories are not superstition. They are a moral code, a way of ensuring balance between humans and nature. As the night deepens, the sound of drums begins. Walrus skin stretched tight over wooden frames becomes the heartbeat of the village. Voices rise in song, old words carrying across the ice, praising both the hunters and the animal that gave its life. The children clap in rhythm, their eyes wide, absorbing the traditions as if by instinct. It is not entertainment, but ceremony, a renewal of the bond between man, beast, and sea. In these moments, the walrus is more than meat, more than ivory, more than oil. It is the thread that weaves the community together. Without it, the Arctic would be silence and hunger. With it, there is warmth, story, and survival. And so the work continues into the night. Meat drying, hides stretching, tusks carving. The village moves as one, each hand contributing, each voice part of a larger chorus. The walrus may be gone, but its spirit lingers in every task, every story, every flame that flickers against the dark. The hunt was dangerous, the butchering was precise. But here, in the heart of the community, the walrus becomes what it has always been, life itself. When the work of dividing, drying, and storing is complete, a hush falls over the village. The butchering may feed bodies, but now comes the part that feeds the spirit. The walrus has given its life, and such a gift cannot pass without acknowledgement. The people gather not in silence, but in reverence. It is time for the ritual. The ceremony begins with fire. Lamps filled with fresh walrus oil are lit, their flames steady despite the drafts that creep through the walls of snow houses and wooden huts. The golden glow warms the room, driving back the shadows. Each lamp is placed carefully, as though guiding the way for unseen spirits. For the community, the flame is more than light. It is the embodiment of gratitude, burning with the life of the animal that sustains them. Drums begin next. Large, round frames covered with walrus hide are struck in slow, steady rhythm. The sound echoes like a heartbeat, deep and resonant, filling the air with vibrations that seem to blend with the very pulse of the earth beneath the ice. Children feel it in their chests, eyes wide as they press close to their mothers. Elders nod slowly, their lips moving in quiet chants that have been passed down unchanged for countless generations. Then come the songs. They are not casual tunes, but sacred verses. Some praise the ocean, calling it the endless mother. Others honor the walrus, speaking of its strength, its courage, and its willingness to offer itself for the survival of humans. Each verse is sung in unison, voices layering over one another until the air itself feels thick with memory. The words may not always be understood by outsiders, but their power is unmistakable. At the center of the gathering sits the tusks from the day's hunt, cleaned but not yet carved. They are placed upright in the earth or on stones, a silent reminder of the animal's presence. Around them, elders sprinkle small offerings, a strip of meat, a splash of oil, sometimes even tobacco or carved bone trinkets. These gifts are tokens of respect, meant to ensure that the spirit of the walrus departs in peace, carrying no resentment back to the ocean. Stories follow. The hunters recount the day's events, describing the moment the walrus appeared on the floe, the struggle with the harpoon, the waves that threatened to overturn the boat. They do not embellish. The truth itself is dramatic enough. Listeners gasp, laugh, or fall silent at each turn. For the children, these stories are more than entertainment. They are instruction, lessons on courage, on caution, on humility before the sea. But ritual is not only solemn. At times, laughter breaks through. A hunter mimics the clumsy waddle of a walrus on land, sending children into fits of giggles. A grandmother recalls a hunt years ago when the rope snapped and the men were dragged screaming across the ice. Even in reverence, humor has its place. It is part of the balance, joy and sorrow, danger and triumph, life and death. As the night deepens, the ceremony grows more intense. Dancers step forward, their movements imitating the sway of waves, the dive of a walrus, the pull of the harpoon. They wear masks carved from driftwood and tusk, painted with bold lines representing the spirits of sea and sky. Their feet stamp in rhythm with the drums, their bodies bending and swaying as if possessed by the forces of nature itself. Children stare wide-eyed, half in awe, half in fear, as the line between human and spirit blurs. At the peak of the ritual, silence returns. An elder rises, holding a carved staff topped with ivory. His voice is steady but filled with weight. He speaks directly to the ocean, thanking it for its generosity, asking for continued balance, and promising that the people will never take more than they need. His words hang heavy in the cold air, a contract between the living and the vast, merciless sea. Finally, the tusks are removed, to be worked into tools and art in the days ahead. The lamps continue to burn, their oil slowly consumed, their flames steady reminders of the gift that has been received. The people share a final bowl of stew, passing it hand to hand until each has tasted. It is not about hunger, it is about unity. By dawn, the ritual is complete. The village falls quiet again, though the echo of drums still lingers in the ears of those who danced and sang. Children drift asleep, dreams filled with ivory tusks and roaring seas. Hunters sit in silence, staring into the embers, thinking of hunts past and hunts yet to come. For them, the ritual is not optional, it is essential. Without it, the walrus is reduced to flesh and fat. With it, the animal becomes something more, a bridge between worlds, a reminder that survival here depends not only on strength, but on respect. And so, year after year, hunt after hunt, the ritual is repeated. A rhythm as old as the Arctic itself, echoing across the frozen seas, binding the living to the spirits of those who came before. In the Arctic, the ocean never gives without testing those who take. Every hunt is shadowed by risk, and no community forgets that the sea can turn from calm to fury in the blink of an eye. The hunters know this well. They remember the stories of storms that rose from a clear horizon, of boats swallowed by towering waves, of men lost to the cracks in shifting ice. Each journey onto the water is a wager, survival traded against hunger, and sometimes nature reminds them just how thin that balance is. It begins with a sound, a sharp crack, distant but unmistakable, like a gunshot beneath the ice. The hunters freeze, ears straining, then another, closer. The floe on which they work trembles underfoot, sending shivers up their legs. The ice is moving, breaking. The weight of the walrus, combined with the men and their tools, has weakened it. If they linger, they risk being cast adrift, a tiny island of ice spinning into the endless Black Sea. "Move!" one of the elders shouts. His voice slices through the wind. Men scramble to load the remaining cuts of meat into the boats, ropes tightening, arms straining. Children, wide-eyed, are rushed away from the edge, mothers clutching them tightly. Already cracks spiderweb across the surface, water seeping upward in dark rivulets. Then the wind rises. What was once a soft breeze becomes a cutting gale, carrying ice shards that sting like needles against exposed skin. The sky darkens, clouds rolling in with terrifying speed. In moments, the sea transforms. Waves slap against the ice, small at first, then higher, pounding with relentless force. The boats bob and sway, threatening to capsize even before they are fully loaded. The hunters act with precision, born of necessity. They lash the cargo down, shouting above the roar of the wind. One boat tips dangerously as a wave crashes over it, spilling water onto the deck. Men bail frantically, their hands numb, their movements desperate. Another hunter slips, nearly dragged into the sea by a rope pulled taut by the shifting walrus hide. Only a quick grab from his companion saves him. The storm does not relent. Snow begins to fall, a blinding curtain that erases the horizon. The village is only a few miles away, but it might as well be 100. Direction vanishes. Sound itself is swallowed by the shriek of the gale. Still, the hunters push forward. They row with all their strength, muscles burning, lungs searing from the icy air. Each stroke feels like a battle, the sea fighting back with every surge. Children huddle in the center of the boats, covered in hides, their faces pale with fear. Elders chant softly, words meant to steady courage, to call for balance, to remind the sea of the promises made in the ritual. Then, as if testing them further, the sea ice ahead splits with a deafening crack. A dark chasm opens, stretching across their path. For a moment, despair flickers. To go around would mean hours more at sea, hours they may not survive. To cross is madness, but hesitation is death in the Arctic. "Row," the leader cries, his voice raw, and they do. The boats surge forward, oars cutting through water black as obsidian. At the last moment, a wave lifts them, carrying them across the gap in a spray of salt and snow. For a heartbeat, time stops, the world suspended on the edge of disaster. Then the boats crash down on solid water beyond, the hunters gasping, alive. They do not cheer, there is no time. The storm still howls, the waves still rise. But something changes in their eyes, a flicker of defiance. The sea has tested them, and still they endure. By the time the village comes into view, the hunters are nearly spent. Their arms tremble, their hands roar from the ropes. The boats are heavy with water, the cargo slick with ice. But the sight of smoke rising from chimneys, the faint glow of lamps through snow, fills them with strength. Stroke by stroke, they force the boats forward until the hulls scrape against the frozen shore. The people rush to meet them, pulling boats to safety, lifting children onto land, embracing the men with relief. Behind them, the storm rages on, but here, on the edge of the village, there is triumph. The Walrus is safe, the hunters are alive. For tonight, the balance holds, but everyone knows the sea will test them again. At the end of each season, when the last of the hunts are done, the people gather for one final celebration. It is not a feast of excess, but a ritual of gratitude. Meat is cooked slowly over fire, songs are sung, and stories are shared. The air fills with laughter, drum beats, and the glow of oil lamps. Children dance clumsily in imitation of the walrus, their movements greeted with cheers. In that moment, the walrus is everywhere. In the stew, in the lamp, in the clothing, in the tools, in the very breath of the people. It is a reminder that survival here has never been about the individual. It has always been about the collective, hunter and family, child and elder, past and future, all bound together. When night falls, the village rests. Outside, the Arctic stretches on, endless and indifferent. The ice will crack again, storms will return, herds will migrate. But inside each home, the flame of a walrus oil lamp burns steady. It is a small flame, fragile against the vast dark. Yet it is enough, because that flame carries more than light. It carries the memory of those who came before, the resilience of those who endure now, and the promise of those yet to come. And so the legacy continues. Each hunt, each butchering, each ritual, each storm faced and survived, they are not isolated events. They are chapters in a single story, written across centuries, etched into bone and tusk. Carried in song and story, a story that says, we are here, we endure, we honor. In the frozen silence of the Arctic, where life hangs always by a thread, the walrus remains not just an animal, but a lifeline. And the people, in turn, remain not just survivors, but storytellers, bound forever to the sea that sustains them.